If you're the Bears, you just have to draft all the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You can't bust on all. You can't bust on all.
No
of
way
them.
we bust on every single one of them.
One of them's got to be successful.
They're just hoping that it's this one.
So, but this one is in the best position.
Oh, he's in the best position that any quarterback.
Did you see what Ryan Clark said? Where they're like, if he fails, it's on the coach. And I'm like, how? The coach literally put together a team for any quarterback to go into that has any inclination of talent.
You could say that, but also let me say two words: Matt Canada.
I'll give you two more words: Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah. So, yeah, it could
give you three
easily
words.
be the coach.
Green Bay Packers.
I'm just saying, it could easily.
Packers.
Like, don't get me wrong, will some fall on him? Yeah, but if you're running the same predictable plays, he can only do so much unless he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to kind of audible this thing the whole time.
Gotta think outside the Xbox.
Unfortunately, I don't want to see him fail, but I don't think he's going to be as good as everybody says. His over-under so far that I saw for yards this year is 3,400.
Well, his expectations are the highest they've ever been since Andrew Luck.
And Andrew Luck lived up to it. He just retired really early, don't get me wrong, but...
Never
injury
even made
Yeah.
an AFC championship, so I can't really say lived up to it.
he did. I thought he lost to New England AFC Championship. I thought that was Deflategate.
No.
No,
Or was that the round before?
that was the round before?
It was the round before.
With a 20, he got beat by 28 points.
Yeah.
That's
For me personally, it's just like, but yeah, like he at least has to get into the playoffs this year,
that should be it.
minimum.
Yeah.
Well, you would think that, but
It
I
would
mean
be an
that
absolute
that
fail if
North,
he didn't.
yeah. If you don't, so you at least got to sneak in 7th seed, 6th seed. Ride coattails and just try your best.
That's your floor, yeah.
Yeah, that's your floor.
That's your floor.
Your ceiling is, of course, Super Bowl, but let's be honest,
Yeah.
you're just trying to figure it out.
and I think we can all agree on who the biggest loser was of the draft. I wouldn't say loser, but definitely the most surprising picks. I mean, there were a couple, but Oakland really stands out. I mean,
Las Vegas.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they just
Sorry,
went.
Vegas.
Personally,
We should go back to Oakland.
they went best available player instead of need,
Yeah.
which it's Oakland. Or it's Vegas. We're not. It's the Raiders. It's happened before. This was the team that was like, who ran the fastest 40? Cool. We're gonna take that guy at number 1 overall.
They didn't get that good.
Is that who? Jacoby Ford? What'd he do? He did something, but he ran a 4.22.
Old Clemson legend
First
right
round.
there.
That was Al Davis's thing though back in the day.
That
He
was
just
an
wanted
old,
speed.
that was just
Yeah.
an old Clemson legend.
He'd have
right
loved
there.
Mike.
Yancey Thigpen, you bet your ass.
Nancy Thigpen.
4.28.
There's a name.
Woo! Bring him in.
There's a name.
I
right
can
there.
I could go a few more if I wanted to,
But that was just surprising. I think the rest of their picks were fine
now
though.
you're thinking about it. Now you're thinking about it, aren't you? There's one more I can't remember. He was another wide receiver who
Darius Hayward Bay.
That's it, because he was a Steeler. Yep, 1,000%. Darius Hayward Bay, same situation.
And Ruggs
Ruggs was good. He was just too fast.
on and off the field. But yeah, I mean the rest of their picks I thought were fine. Like looking back, I'm like they were okay. It was just that first one where it was like you took for the best available, but there were.
Well, my other thing is you don't even take a QB either.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
It didn't
they
make
got
sense.
thrown a curveball because I think that they want.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they were like,
Oh, yeah.
look, we know we're getting the last of these 6 guys. Which one are we getting? And then Atlanta's like, hold your horses, about to fuck shit up. And they did.
That they did. They were just like, hey, you hold my beer.
Well, it's just nuts. And then you got all these idiots like trying to say, no, it makes fucking sense.
No, it doesn't. It makes no.
And the thing is, the only people that are saying it makes sense are these bullshit guys that used to play quarterback in the league, like Dan Orlovsky, who ran out back of the fucking end zone and didn't even realize it for about 5-6 seconds, and Tim Hasselback, who literally had a 0-0 passer rating in a game, one of the last to do it. So I don't think you guys are the epitome of saying this is a smart pick. And they keep comparing it to Rodgers, Love, and Mahomes, Smith, but I'm like, those are two very different
Yeah,
situations.
it's very different.
And kind of like Rodgers was an established Packer for years and kind of was sick of their shit
They'd already
about.
been to a Super Bowl, and then they were like, I think Love got drafted about 3 or 4 years after the Super Bowl.
No. So they won the Super Bowl 2011. Love got drafted 2020. But basically, he won a Super Bowl, 2-time MVP. You signed him to an extension in 2018, and then 2 years later, you know, that it's when they started it's when Rodgers started realizing, like, man, I would love a first-round fucking wide receiver in this bitch instead of you guys drafting a defensive end that ain't going to do anything for us. Or a cornerback. Yeah. So, and I just think they were trying, and at that point they were like, okay, let's just see what happens. But then he goes back-to-back MVP season, so you kind of can't get rid of him. So that's a completely different situation than Kirk Cousins coming in brand new, who's never been a Falcon.
And then you go draft one same.
And then you sign him to, you know, $180 million, 100 guaranteed, 90 in the first 2 years. And then the same with Alex Smith. You know, Alex Smith, he was a Kansas City Chief for 3-4 years, made 2 Pro Bowls. He was also in the last year of his contract. And then you take Mahomes. 2 completely different situations. And then everyone's saying, like, well, you know, we'd like to have him, like, just in case. Because their thing is, like, we're going to be so good that we're not going to be up this high to pick another quarterback. Well, then, no shit, dipwad. Then why wouldn't you add a defensive player that's going to help you go from here to here if you're supposed to be that good? And then it's like, well, then if he does bad, we got a decent backup with Penix. I'm like, okay, well, if he's going to be so bad, why pay him $180 million then?
And you
It don't make sense. You can't say, oh, this and that. You can't have it both ways. So it's either sign Kirk. If you believe Kirk Cousins is your guy, then great. You signed him for all that money for a reason. Don't draft a QB in the first round at number 8 overall. Or get him for a lot fucking cheaper, or get someone that's cheaper. Tannehill could have been doing easy bridge work over there. You know, Carson Wentz, he's familiar with Raheem Morris. He was over at the Rams for a teeny bit. So it's like, you got these bridge quarterbacks that you could pay barely minimum who could help you a little bit, that are probably better than Taylor Heineke and, you know, Desmond Riddler and all that. But my thing is, you know, you can't have it. You can't say this and then that. It doesn't make sense. He's either Cousins going to do great and all you did was waste a pick, or Cousins going to do bad and then you just paid $180 million to a guy that sucks.
What they were saying didn't match your actions, basically.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
That's probably one of the biggest surprise we talked about during the draft. I'm like, that's one of the biggest surprise picks that
in a long time.
In a long time, probably since the Bush one.
Now, don't get me wrong, there were rustlings that it's possible.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think that trigger is going to get pulled.
Yeah.
That was what my thought was on this whole thing. Is I think that there was a lot of panic because a lot of teams had a top 10 grade on Michael Penix, and we're probably making calls, and Atlanta was probably taking a lot of calls to get offers for that pick to get out of there, so that way that team could take Michael Penix, and they just panicked. Where they're kind of putting band-aids on the situation as it's going now is they did sign Kirk to that 4 years with $100 million guaranteed and 90 in the first 2 years. So it does make it relatively easy for them to get out of that contract in 2 years if he doesn't work out.
Yeah.
You know, in which case he'll still keep you middle of the pack, not necessarily, you know, might not be good enough to keep you top 10.
But my thing is, even though, okay, let's say they got a contract 2 years, you just wasted 2 years.
Oh, essentially. Yeah. Essentially.
That's all you did. You just took a 24-year-old quarterback and said, hey, we're going to let you wait 2 years so you're 26 and never play any real meaningful snaps, and then hope you just take us to the promised land. And then in that 2 years, you're not going to spend money to make the team any better. And then you know what's going to be happening in a close to that 2-3 year strand? You're going to have to pay Bijan Robinson. You're going to have to pay Drake London. You're going to have to pay all these other people that you drafted a decent amount. Yeah, you could have grabbed Rome Odunze. He was chilling there. Guess what? I loved him. Kirk Cousins for sure. And then, you know what? If you suck, then you'll be right back in the QB hunt, or you're going to do very well, and then you'll just ride Kirk Cousins until he eventually dies.
Talking about the Rome Odunze, I was looking at the draft grades today. You know what they graded Rome Odunze's draft pick for the Bears? It was like a B minus. I was like,
It's probably more for Bears, not Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
It's mainly because you already got 2 number ones there. He's not going to really get to shine as a number 1 receiver like Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, all these other guys.
well, they graded the
But-
Phoenix to Atlanta as an A, and I'm like, that didn't make any sense either.
Well, they might be trolling.
Because once I saw that, I was like,
That's a troll, because every other person's graded that.
it was NFL's. It was the NFL.com one. I'm like, this makes no sense. I'm like, these grades
Well,
make no sense.
it might be like one certain person. And again, there's a few
could
that
be.
have done that. But yeah, I mean, the only reason why people had an issue with Rome Odunze is because he's got to sit behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, proven veterans.
He could be number 3.
And he is. He's
Yeah.
going to be the number 3 on that team right now, but you don't expect that out of a receiver of his caliber
expect him to step in
being
and be
picked that
number 1 or
high.
number 2 pretty much
He's
right
got to be number 1 out the gate. But I love the pick because you know what? You're probably not going to extend Keenan Allen. He's going to learn from him over a year. You'll lose Keenan Allen, and then guess what? No one's the wiser. You still got 2 surefire number 1 and 2s, and you just keep on rolling.
I mean, the Bears are pretty much doing what the Rams did when they won the Super Bowl, except they're starting with a rookie quarterback, but they loaded up the offense. If they'd have had a proven veteran quarterback, I think they could take a deep playoff run. But going with a rookie, who knows what's going to happen?
I mean, rookies can.
I mean, no, I'm
Take it
saying
in the playoffs.
they could, but they might not either.
Big Ben won 15 games in a row.
Sure can.
AFC Championship.
You
but-
know it was a questionable pick because when the Packers picked Jordan Love, the owner of the Packers wasn't standing in the face of the GM.
Yeah. What are you
Just
doing?
asking him what
Well,
are you doing?
there isn't one significant owner at the Packers.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Brian Gutekunst wasn't like, "What the fuck are we doing?"
We're not going to storm the Packer facility.
Yeah,
Just be
I mean,
like-
don't get me wrong. A lot of owners were pissed, and they probably could have went and kicked that GM's ass.
Yeah.
Which Green Bay's pick was a little.
I think Green Bay's was because Green Bay.
Theirs was a rush job because they needed a tackle, and unfortunately, all of them were gone. All the good ones, but they were
They
like,
picked one like the best available. They skipped to what? He was like ranked 6th or 7th.
So here's what I think happened. Green Bay got bullied in this draft
"Oh yeah."
because they were sitting there waiting on a corner. They were like, all right, we're waiting on a corner. Terry and Arnold's still there. The pick before, someone jumps up, grabs Terry and Arnold. So they're like, okay, so now what? And then they just grabbed whoever was on their board that was still available because probably they had 3
My
members of their
thing
board.
is, though,
was gone.
you know, Cooper DeJean was still there, so I don't think that was
And
the
Kool-Aid.
case
He
for
went
them.
second round too.
Kool-Aid's hurt though, and that's tough to spend a first rounder on him. So I think theirs was really just they lost Bakhtiari, they needed a tackle.
And
They were hoping that a decent one would fall, like maybe Mims or something like that. But they just had so many people in front of them. Like the only way it was going to happen is if they traded up, and I'm sure they probably made some calls to try to make it happen. No one was going to pick that low. So they were like, we need a tackle. Who could we grab? Oh, you from Arizona. Like, come on in. And could he be a starter? Sure, but they'll probably, they're going to have to figure it out still.
Yeah.
But theirs was just all the good tackles got taken off the board. It was kind of just like,
Which I think they should have known was going to happen.
well, when
they should've
six
been prepared for it.
6 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks, it
That's
really opens up the portal.
Which was just blasphemy. Well, you called the Bo Nix in our fake draft.
Well, I feel like everyone was gonna figure Bo Nix was gonna be there. Sean Payton was raving about him. He fits that Sean Payton mentality.
I think what pushed Denver to grab him though with that pick was Penix getting drafted. If Penix didn't get drafted, they might not go Bo Nix.
If Penix didn't get drafted, they go Penix.
Yeah.
Because you don't reach for a quarterback that nobody had in the top 75.
Exactly. Yeah. I think because if Penix falls, then I don't think he was going to make it to.
But it also depends on if that's who Sean Payton liked. And I think he liked Bo Nix because he's coached a guy like Bo Nix before.
Sure.
So
They're giving him the Drew Brees comparison, and I don't think that's fair.
I don't.
it's mainly due to him being accurate and all that shit. Most accurate season in all of college football history. that's perfectly fine. And yeah, that's what Drew, and his reads are real well. So I can see it, but I mean, it's going to take some time. Do I think he's going to start day one? Probably not. It will be Stidham. Is he going to jump Zach Wilson in the depth chart? Bet your ass he is. Probably in the second day.
Yeah.
And
Probably
then,
because Zach will end up sleeping with Peyton's wife, and they'd be like, "Hey, buddy, you get it now."
Zach, there's a mom in the crowd. I must get her.
go play with the bush. Go play with the
Anyway,
curtains,
I think we can all agree that the losers, mainly because of their pick, is the Falcons.
Well, they also
They made up for it at the
They
end,
had a couple
but-
other questionable picks, like
Yeah.
that D tackle from Clemson, Ohorafor, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, when there was better available.
There were better D tackles available, like Chris Jenkins from Michigan. A couple others. So I think that was a reach as well. Now they went defense the next 3 picks, which is smart.
Yeah, but they could have went first 3 picks defense and
You
been
could
fine.
have had an impact player.
Yeah,
on
you could have had a real impact player instead of guys that you're going to have to throw in mix and piece and just hope that they kind of work out. So, yeah, they definitely get one of my lower grades.
Yeah. Who do you think won the draft?
Well, I know it's biased, but Steelers for sure. They went in with a game plan, and basically, if you watch that whole draft and know their picks, you know what they're doing this season on offense. It's running
the
the
football.
damn ball, run pass options, and doing all this jazz, which plays in perfectly. Somehow, Troy Fatanu drops down, which I think the main
go
reason
anywhere to get him.
he dropped down because his size. He's only 6'4", 317, something like that.
Only.
Only, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
He's only significantly larger than me.
I mean, we're about the same size, so he's
He's
like
just about 2 inches taller than you.
Yeah.
inch and a half, easy. But
And
yeah.
Frazier fell to you, which that's about where they expected him to get picked.
Frazier's going to land in that second round
Yeah.
anyways.
Frazier was a great pick.
Yeah, so, and I liked it because they picked Steeler guys. Personally, out of the first 5 picks, they probably...
We'll get to that.
They picked. Okay, fine. I'll hold off. But yeah, they had one of the better drafts that I enjoyed. The Bears for sure, I think, did as
Yeah.
well. Which I mean, when you
It's
got
easy to say
when
when
you
you
got
got
2
two.
picks in
Yeah.
the top 10,
I
and you
mean-
grab the generational quarterback and a receiver who could have contended for the best receiver in the class falls to you at 9, great. But then they also picked up that tackle from Yale that people really liked.
I mean, I think
And-
it's more so we should say who, in your opinion, other than the Bears, because the Bears did have a great draft, but like you said, when you have 2,
Well,
first round
like I
picks,
said,
it's kinda hard.
I liked the Steelers. They did. The Broncos wasn't terrible. I think
it
they
was.
did what they had to do with what they had. Eagles just
We'll be ready for
Eagles-
the
somehow
top 3 picks.
just the gifts
I love
fall to them.
I love the nickname they're giving their secondary.
Hmm.
Jackson 2 But I like the Lions. Their first 2 picks, I think, are
Lions
great.
are
They
big.
needed corners.
They got a giant
and they drafted
offensive tackle.
Yeah, and they got a huge offensive tackle. But their first 2 picks were 2 corners that were top 6 picks. Because the second one was Rakestraw, and they got Arnold, right? The first one. So I mean, two solid corners in this draft. Now they're young. Hopefully they work out. But it was a need, and the coach was like, "Let's just take 2 of the best."
Well, and then they also signed a cornerback too
Yeah.
this offseason too. So
But I think
it's
that
like
definitely helps. When they said that, was it Rakestraw is one that can play multiple positions, so they can move him around the field.
yeah, he might get moved to slot. You
Yeah.
know, could you put him at a strong safety position? Maybe. So yeah, it was smart. Plus, he fell that low. It's
Yeah,
just
I was saying he fell.
it makes sense. And Baltimore did pretty good as well. They got Nate Wiggins, big, tough cornerback. They grabbed a few linemen, which I think, and then they grabbed, I think they grabbed a receiver too. I can't remember who. Maybe it was Javon Baker or something like that.
Javon Baker's a Patriot.
Was he a Patriot? Oh, okay. Yeah, the Patriots did okay too. But yeah, I liked Baltimore's, even though I hate saying it because we're in the same division. And Cincinnati's wasn't bad either. Cleveland was just kind of pedestrian.
Yeah.
Cleveland didn't do anything.
Cleveland
Yeah,
was
I was looking at
Cleveland in
theirs,
the
and I'm like,
draft.
you didn't really pick up anybody that was noteworthy.
Although I'll tell you my favorite move of the draft. It happened in the late first round.
Please tell me it's the Buffalo Bills.
If you're the Buffalo Bills
We were yelling at ZB for
and
this too.
your caller ID
Says Kansas City
has
Chiefs.
a Missouri area code of any kind.
You're like, fuck that.
You decline it. You don't just be like, you know what? They're not going to get Patrick Mahomes another weapon. It's like, hey, is that fast guy still on the board? It's like,
Let's see what's happening.
well, he's not anymore because we just gave the Kansas City Chiefs another guy to beat us with later on.
Yeah, like
so
it's not even it's not a
hooray.
division rival, but it's the one fucking team you can't beat in the AFC Championship game. So you pretty much swap spots with them, and you let them get the Tyreek Hill replacement that they
and then
wanted.
also you trade out.
And then you trade again
Trade
with the
again.
fucking Panthers, who go in and grab. Granted, I don't think it was a receiver people expected. I thought it was a good pick.
grab Mullins native
Yeah.
I mean, he's a.
Xavier Leggett.
They were comparing him to like, AJ Brown. He's a big body.
I think DK Metcalf.
DK
was who
Metcalf
they
was
were
one too.
talking about.
But like, I thought that was a pick that probably could have waited. Like, they probably didn't have to jump
They
up.
probably didn't
well,
have
my
the-
deal is
But-
my thing is you trade out of the first round. Now you have no 5th-year option on your guy.
Yeah.
So Keon Coleman's in 4 years.
And then they take Coleman. I'm like, you passed on all these wide receivers you could have taken.
Yeah.
I'm like, and you drop back. Like, if you were going to grab wide receiver, the two teams you traded with grabbed wide receivers. What the fuck were you thinking?
Well, I
Made no
think.
sense. And I'm a Miami fan. So it's like, I love that they jumped back.
But again, they were trying to accumulate more picks to draft more people. So it's like I get it to that extent, especially if it's such a deep receiver class.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they were going to take Xavier Worthy. You know, they have a small, shifty guy. They wanted big body receiver. You know, and Leggette's okay, but outside of this past year, he hasn't really had a proven history of doing it. So I get that as well.
But at the same time, you got to play defensive in your draft picks. Like, if you know Kansas City wants this guy and you can't get past them, you go fucking draft him. And she'd be like, we'll use him against you.
Yeah, but you also got to hope that that's a need. Do you really need another speedy, small, shifty guy,
is he better than
or do you
Shakir?
need a guy?
Probably.
Well, you don't know. But you rather have a guy that can win 50-50 balls. Xavier Worthy's not going to win 50-50 balls in that extent. But anyways, back to Baltimore for them real quick. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Yeah, they got Nate Wiggins. They got Rosengarten from Washington, that tackle. And, it was Walker, the wide receiver from UNC. It was half year, half an out. I think that was a solid pick. And then TJ Tampa falls to them in the 4th round. He was like the 5th or 6th ranked cornerback to drop. So, yeah, they had a pretty solid draft. But again, Buffalo's wasn't terrible. They grabbed, Keon Coleman, not terrible. They probably should have went one more wide receiver with the extra picks they got. But they're happy enough with their room, because you got to think, they got Shakir, shifty slot guy. You got Samuel, who's kind of a hybrid who can work the end arounds, do some mid-level work. And now you got Keon Coleman, red zone threat, who plays a lot faster on tape than what his 40 shows.
Yeah.
Didn't
Game speed.
Didn't Buffalo also sign Frank Gore Jr. undrafted?
They did. Yeah.
That's probably a good pick too. Should have been drafted by somebody.
But also, it's kind of like, he played for us.
Yeah.
Because I think oh no, he went to the Chargers. Brendan Rice went to the Chargers.
Went to the Chargers.
Yeah.
A good pick for the Chargers. I hope that this guy does something because I saw him when he played at Arizona State and just giant wide receiver.
Ricky Pearsall.
No, not Pearsall.
That's
Another one of those crazy picks.
Yeah, not Pearsall. His name's Johnny Wilson. He went to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
He is a wide receiver at 6'6", borderline 6'7". Wide receiver. So I'm like, hey, there's your 50-50 ball. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that he could be a good player, especially in Philadelphia. Get you the biggest target you probably ever had there, Jalen. So that'll probably be pretty solid.
Talking about Leggett, I just happened to see today. He was a freshman this past year, and he didn't play a lot for South Carolina, but he just set the 3rd fastest 100-yard dash time in the state at a 10.12, 6'5", 240-pound wide receiver. I was like, what?
What's his name?
Nicholas
Harbor.
Harbor, yeah. I was like, his first name's spelled weird, but yeah, it's basically Nicholas Harbor.
It's spelled with a Y.
Yeah, he's
Thanks, Madden.
huge.
That's the only reason I know that.
He is huge. I saw that, and I'm like, 6'5", 240. I'm like, that's Megatron, but faster.
I drafted him in Madden. He was listed as a tight end.
Yeah, they're basically the exact same size as Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson was 236. I think we looked it up at work. He was 6'4", 6'5", 236. I'm like, this guy's 6'5", 240, and runs probably a slightly faster 40. I mean, he's a freshman, so his time will probably get a little bit faster when they work with him. He may lose a little bit of that weight. I was like, but man,
he might put on some good weight.
that's a massive wide receiver. I mean, he doesn't look that big. He really doesn't. In the pictures of him running track, he doesn't look that big. But man, a 10-1-2 at 240, that's. I mean, you can imagine him running next to the track.
Easy money.
Makes him look tiny.
It takes me 10-1-2 to get off the couch. Jeez.
His 40 time was a 10-1-2.
No, it was 6.66.
That's true. All right, so,
Joke's on you.
All right, now we'll go into like our team's draft picks, and then we'll cover surprising, or I would say, picks that we think were good late.
Nice late round picks.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Some
with
good late round picks that we think might do something. You know, there's always that one guy somewhere.
I like most of his, and I hated most of ours.
Yeah, they had a decent one. Like ours, I'm not entirely upset. I wish we would have went more O-line, but
I thought you could have went back to get Chop. I didn't think you had to take him.
Yeah, Chop,
Yeah.
I felt tiny bit of a reach. Not a whole lot of reach, but
Not an overreach, but you could have got maybe
I think
one
they
or two.
were.
one
They
or two
wanted.
more.
I think that was the guy they
the
wanted.
one
but they
that
didn't think
threw
he would make
me
it
off,
to
the one that threw me off was the trade up for Jalen Wright. I don't get that.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I'm like, speed? I guess he just wanted to go speed, and everybody's like, why are you drafting another running back? And I'm like, you do realize that other than A-Chain, our other running backs are over 30 years old, and they're on like their last year. So,
Yeah, but I mean that
You bring somebody
that
in.
dude that was super old that's on there last year. He
don't get me wrong.
ran for 21 touchdowns. So
But if A-Chain steps up like he did last year and has that production all year, and you can bring in Jalen Wright and he can be the backup A-Chain was last year, you don't need to. I understand it. I mean, a lot of football fans are like, "Oh, we need run back." He's preparing for the future. Like our team is fairly young.
yeah,
So,
I mean,
and it's speed. It's
I like
young and
Chop,
fast.
and then
that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then one of our late wide receiver picks, they predicted or they expected him to go in the second round.
Washington. Yeah,
I thought he was a good pick for us too. Late.
I liked the Muhammad Kamara pick from Colorado State.
That was me and Brant talking
I
about.
liked that one.
I think he's going to be one of my favorite players. I think he's going to be one of those guys that puts up production unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Because he was late pick. Because watching his game film,
Well,
he put up numbers against teams,
I had him
good
more.
teams.
I had him more of a third rounder,
And he
fourth
fell to us. I
rounder.
think we got him in the
fifth, late fifth.
Yeah.
So
We'll go more in depth with that, but we'll have Donnie talk about his Pittsburgh Steelers and